For 3 long years, we have been building this Land Rover.
And as you can see, it's been nothing short of a full rebuild. Now we've done plenty of work on this.
And this is the video where we're finally going to drive it. First things first, we're going to have ourselves a good old-fashioned unboxing. Now, I've never unboxed something whilst filming myself, so if this goes wrong, you'll know about it because everything will just appear out on the counter in a minute. I am now going to take all of these bits and we'll probably map out a little bit of a plan and then start wiring and see what happens.
Now, first thing I've done is 3D printed this little switch panel. So we've got indicators, that's USB charger, headlights, ignition, then we've got an oil light and a battery light. So this, I thought, just gives it that nice original touch and put a textured print on it. So when it came to fitting this, it was literally just a case, measure the middle on the bracket and drill some holes. Now, it would have been much easier if I had drill bits that worked, that weren't blunt, but that's not how we roll. So, drilled a couple of holes, banged in some riv nuts and bolted it up. Also, while I was down there, I fitted the fuse box up underneath, but I'll show you that in the next clip.
So, the fuse box up under here. Now, the reason I've done that is because I'm a sucker for pain and I really want to lay upside down and wire everything in. But today is a rare day where we have an empty ramp. So, I'm going to make the most of it. Put this on there so I can actually do all the stuff underneath without having to lay on my back.
Now normally I probably wouldn't leave this whole clip in, but I had an absolute nightmare doing this, and I'm interested to see in the comments how funny you all find it and how you would have done it different. Now just sit back and enjoy this because I made a proper meal out of it.
Well, at least I don't need lunch because I made an absolute meal out of that. But it's now on the ramp, so this is the underneath, in case anyone's not seen it and wanted to. I think the plan now is I'm going to run the Airlines, but I left them in there. So, I'm going to go up that ladder, get the Airlines, run the front ones to the back, the rear ones I think are already in. So I'll run the Airlines, and then I guess we'll have a look at maybe bleeding the brakes, and then start on the wiring. Alright, I couldn't really film the Airlines by myself, because it's impossible. But I come out here, over here, and down through that hole that we put in the last video. They've now got clips. So they're clipped, obviously missing the throttle linkage that side, but clipped along the tunnel, and they run up over the gearbox and into the back. Now, you wouldn't believe the amount of times I nearly fell out of here. But that's now front and rear Airlines in, so I think I've filled up the reservoir with brake fluid, so I think we'll see if we can crack the nipples off and get any sort of gravity bleeding going. I'm going to get down this ladder first before I fall down. So I think my hope here is, one, I don't round anything off, and two, if I crack them off, fluid will somehow come down. Might be wishful thinking, but I'm here on my own, so I haven't really got another option. So I'll crack them off and report back in a moment when evidently no fluid has came out. But you never know. We got fluid coming out of the front, but I was too quick to celebrate because I went to the back and there's no nipples. After the issue with the brakes, I thought I'd make myself feel a little better and do a little bit of wiring. So I've just spent about 10 minutes trying to chase the wires for these before I realised, one, there was no bulb, and two, there was no wires. This is a power probe. I'd highly recommend this to anyone who ever wants to mess around with wiring on a car, because it is proper handy. But if we go, I don't know, these two random wires, which I've never seen before, I haven't already done this off of the camera, but if you go on there, what you can do with this is add power or an earth. Handy. I'm not sponsored, but go and buy one. So, the plan is to run the wires from this, put this, these already have the wires in. So run these down and we'll join onto them. I'm going to keep the rears separate, so I could obviously go from one light to the other and then to the front, but brake lights and rear lights are important. So if you run them both separately, you're only ever going to lose one in theory. So we'll run them separate, indicators to the front,
fog light, and then obviously join them to the fuse box to the switches. So I will take you through this, but right now I'm going home. So I can't remember where I actually filmed up to because everything has gone wrong. So I had to format the memory card in the camera, but all the footage was on my laptop. Seems okay, but I shut my laptop yesterday after using it, and the next time I opened it, it had a smashed screen. So I'm really regretting buying that expensive Mac, because that means it's going to be expensive to fix. But we'll worry about that another day. However, it does mean I can't see where I was edited up to in this video, so this might not make any sense, or it might follow on perfectly. Anyway, this light turned up, so that's now in and wired as it should have been. The engine, we've got the main live, which will go to the starter motor, and then from there to the battery. We've then got the trigger wire for the alternator. Now, I'm no expert, so if any of this is wrong, sue me. I've then got the oil wires in there. I've wired up these loosely. Well, I say loosely, they're finished, but they were mostly wired already. And then that then runs out through this hole. Now, I wouldn't have normally gone out the side. I would have preferred to go out the rear, but we've obviously got an airbag each side just behind these panels. The reason these are shaped this way is to miss the airbags. Now, I thought, oh, maybe I'll go out straight behind. Can't do that either because there's a big cross member in the bed there. To go any lower, it would have been on the exhaust. So I basically had to go out the side. Now, I've wired them, taped them all. The other ends of the wires are still in these bundles here. And obviously that long one there is the one to the starter. So what I'll do now, lift it up on the ramp and start running them towards the front where they need to be. Crimp them on. It's a bit of a weird one. I can't really make this that exciting, but as the video progresses, there should be things I can film a bit better and a bit more of, but I think run them towards the front, then I'll wire the front lights. I will try and show a little bit more of them. And then it's fuel line. We've got the copper fuel line to run inside of the tunnel, so I've got to run that and then connect the lines both ends. So that'll be fuel, wiring. Now, I don't know whether we'll be able to drive it in this video, but I really want to. But I've only got about a day and a half left between now and when I've got to edit this. Now, luckily, I can connect my laptop to my TV at home and use it as a monitor, so I can still use the laptop for now, but it just makes it harder on the go. So I think get them bits in, we've got to at least have it running, haven't we, by the end of this? And if it runs, then it drives. So I'm going to do a little bit more boring stuff underneath, then I'll pick up the camera and actually show you some stuff. But until then, my laptop. Goodbye. This is said problem. So it was working fine, I shut it, and when I opened it up again, it's just this. Oh. I'm so sad, but can't dwell on it, gotta keep going. Now, as I said, it's a little bit boring, so I haven't been filming, but what I've largely been doing is extending cables. So I've been heat shrinking the joints and obviously loom taping. And that is basically what I've done. Now I've put the new lights in the front because there was some missing. So they're all in. I just tested this headlight and all it actually done was filled up with smoke. So I'm going to have to investigate the headlights. But I'll get all the side lights and indicators and everything up to the top because I need to put the flasher unit in. And even if I have to do the headlights after, it doesn't really matter. Because I can get to them, whereas I couldn't get to anything at the rear, so that was my main priority. So I will quickly run them wires to the fuse box, then we'll have a look at the fuse box end, and then fuel line. Wiring is now all up to the front. Oops, fuse box up there. Now I'm not entirely sure, although I used X amount of colours, I didn't really pay that much attention. So I'm going to get Chris to stand at the back and I'm going to put live up wires and we'll play the game of I'll say what I think it is and see if it comes on. I think it's going to be a good game. The only issue I've got is there's no bulbs. That's not going to work. So the light testing will have to wait because I've got no bulbs. But I'm going to get the fuel line and try and poke it up that hole there. And then that in there needs replacing as well because it's got no sealant. But first things first. Fuel lines are on, and I'm really zoomed in. Hang on. There we go. I've just given it a little bit of a clean out in the bay and popped the air filters on. Now, as far as I'm aware, everything engine-wise is done. Could be wrong. I popped this wheel back on, and this wheel, if you noticed earlier in the video, is actually an odd one. So I've now got to go and find that wheel, take the tyre off that and put the right size tyre on, and then pop that on. But where that wheel is, I'm not sure. What do you think? We're going to call that one Finding Wheels with Chris.
Where's the tyre?
I have no idea. So that is all four wheels on now. Little recap. Engine is in and done, fuel lines wiring. Rear lights are all wired in. Air ride is not, and the fuse box isn't. But the front now has all the lights, apart from the headlights, because I'm going to make a loom up for them on a relay so they're bright. Fuel lines in. Suspension underneath is done. I need 2 brake cylinders for the rear, because earlier in the video I said they had no nipples, and that's because they're actually snapped in them. So that is on the to buy list. And then I think it's time to drive it, which isn't in this video, even though I said it was at the start. But everything's gone slightly wrong. And I don't actually really know when this is going out, but there we are. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who did order clothing. We're getting slightly closer to the turbo fund. We're at about 2% now, which is better than no percent. And this will be driven in the next video. I'm not even going to say at the start of the next video that I'm going to drive it, because it never seems to happen. I might just surprise you with it. But thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, like, all that jazz. I was gonna wire the fuse box and stuff off of the camera, but if you really want me to film it, then let me know in the comments. But I mean, this video ended up a bit boring because wiring's boring. Apologies to auto electricians, you probably quite enjoy it. But until next time.